So I'm going to talk about the social democrats and kind of give my take on the social democratic wing of the Democratic Party because I've seen a lot of people, and I mean, a lot of you have probably seen this too, but there are people that are against very anti social democracy. They think it's a terrible thing. They think that it's very similar to capitalism, which it is sort of the moderate wing of capitalism, but it's not the exact same. But then you also have leftists that are uh, say they're leftists, but they're so pro social democracy and also anti communism, anti socialism. So I'm gonna talk about why, even though I am not a social democrat, I am a democratic socialist, um, and uh, to an extent, uh, even further left than democratic socialist, but mostly democratic socialist. But why, even a person like myself that is not a social democrat, thinks that electing social democrats is not the worst thing for the American left. So, first, I'm just going to start with the 2016 Democratic primaries. So, Bernie Sanders ran on an economic populist platform. He ran on Medicare for all, he ran on Green New Deal, and a lot of people, like, on the far left, like, weren't really, like, some people supported him, some people did not. But him getting the 43% that he did actually, like, even though he lost, was actually very good for the left because it helped groups like the DSA grow, and also Bernie Sanders was able to, like, grow the Working Families Party, the DSA, and those groups ended up getting more left politicians elected, and that's why we have people like AOC that got elected because of the movement that Bernie Sanders was able to build with his presidential campaign in 2016. And then after that, in 2020, you had more progressive candidates. You had Bernie Sanders, you had Elizabeth Warren, and you also had, I mean, Tulsi Gabbard isn't a, I mean, I don't know if she counts as a progressive, but at the time she ran as an anti-war, anti-establishment progressive, and she got about 1%. And then you also had Andrew Yang, he got around 1%, Marianne Williamson. So you had more progressive candidates running. And a lot of that was because more people were moving towards leftist politics than ever before. And then when you look at the mayoral election in New York City, we actually got a DSA member elected as mayor. And that is really, like, after this election, like, that really shows how even electing social democrats can be beneficial for the socialist movement, even though, sure, there's, like, a difference between social democracy and democratic socialism. There's many differences, but electing Zohran Mamdani is good for the left because even though, like, there's things that I disagree with him on, many things, also AOC as well, Bernie Sanders, electing them into office makes democratic socialism more of a mainstream position because the problem right now in the United States is that the political spectrum, like, is too far right. Democrats are, like, a moderate right wing party, and Republicans are, like, extreme right. And electing a social democrat like AOC or Zohran Mamdani or Bernie Sanders can move the Democratic Party just even slightly left. And like they're not like as radical as I would hope. I mean, Zohran Mamdani has already kind of switched up some of his positions, unfortunately. But that also allows us to elect people further left than any of them are. And like Ilhan Omar or Rashida Tlaib. Rashida Tlaib is probably way more further left than any of the other squad members. Summer Lee is pretty left wing. She's advocated for reparations, something that social democrats don't even really talk about. So electing these social democrats, it makes more left positions more mainstream and more electable, because the argument that centrists have for progressives is that we're not electable. We can't get elected, and electing even like a progressive, it makes it more makes it seem like we're more electable, and that's the goal, is to elect leftists to get more power, and that way we'll actually be able to make some sort of change when leftists are actually in Congress. But also part of the problem is that leftists that are in Congress right now don't use their leverage enough. And part of that is just because the American population is not left enough. There's still a lot of people that lean right. And until that changes, then the squad is really going to have to work within the Democratic Party very closely. And unfortunately, that's not the best, but that is considering the political environment we are in. So, do I think I think people should vote for, like, if Zoran Mamdani runs for election, I do think people should vote for him, but also organize outside of just electing Zoran or AOC or Bernie Sanders. I think like getting involved in DSA and getting the concessions from those candidates is also very important. And trying to elect even more further left candidates down ballot for like city council and all that stuff. So it is like I do think it is very important that leftists participate in electoral politics while also organizing outside of electoral politics to try to put pressure on the left politicians already in power. Because, I mean, we have Zoran as New York City mayor, but it is important for the people that got him elected to hold him accountable to doing the things that he ran on.